Welcome to the studio at That Nerd Show. I am Marcus Blake, and joined with me is Julie Jones, and we are going to be interviewing a couple of special guests today, Scott Hamilton Kennedy and Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, which we are huge fans of, by the way.
Huge fans.
Please call me Neil. Please call me Neil.
Neil. All right. So we're going to be talking about their film, A Shot in the Arm. And Scott, I'm going to throw the first question at you. It seems weird that we are living in a world that people are afraid of vaccines, but here we are. So what got you into this project to make a film?
Sure. So thanks so much for having us. In 2018, a wonderful doctor named John Schwartzberg got in touch with me. He runs the Berkeley Wellness Letter. And he said, Scott, what's your next film going to be? You have to take on these anti-vaxxers. And in my great wisdom, I said, oh, no, we don't need to bother with them. They're going to burn themselves out. Why do I need to worry about them? and as my wife will tell you, I was dead wrong. And a few months later, we had a state of emergency in New York City around measles, state of emergency around measles, in Washington State, measles outbreaks around the world. And I was asking myself, well, why is this happening? And I saw Dr. Paul Offit in an interview say the very clear statement that, as he says in the film, that this is happening because there are people out there convincing parents, scaring parents into not being vaccinated. So I reached out to Dr. Offit, was the first person I contacted, and he was very generous with opening his doors to so many other people in public health, including Peter Hotez and Nurse Belima Marcus and Dr. Fauci. And then I went and followed the anti-vaxxers as well, because I don't want to just talk about the other side. I want to let the human beings in this story represent themselves. And we filmed with Robert Kennedy Jr., Andrew Wakefield, Del Bigtree. We thought we had a pretty interesting story in just this measles and anti-vax and disinformation story. And you know where this is going.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened and it went to this whole other level.
Yeah, it really kicked it into high gear.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I feel like, anytime you talk about some of this, you've got to have a premier scientist on board, and nobody better than Neil. How did you come to this project?
Yeah, I claim no special medical expertise, of course. I'm an astrophysicist. My role in this was to help, as I have two titles. One is a script consultant, which was my original relationship to this film. And then I had so much more to give than just comments on the script that Scott promoted me to executive producer. And I don't know if I'll ever agree to that again, because it was like oh my gosh, really? I'm on the phone.
Are you trying to say that astrophysics is easier than being an executive producer?
For damn sure. No, contemplating the cosmos is easier than contemplating human behavior. That's the real basis of this. So I'm there to advise on the messaging, because as an educator, not simply as someone who teaches classes or writes books, but actually interact with people daily through many channels, especially social media. You get to see common threads, how people are thinking, how their brain is wired. And so there were nuances that I was able to contribute to this film from the larger body of footage, because any documentary has 5 or 10 times more footage than they actually use. And I was able to offer guidance for how to make the messaging that much more potent, relevant, potent, and accurate for the mission at hand.
Right.
And so that was the role that I played. And
I'm going to turn it over to Julie, because I know she has lots of questions. Julie?
First of all, I just want to say I'm such a huge fan of you, Neil deGrasse Tyson, but also Michio Kaku, Brian Cox. I'm a really big fan of truth finding and also a little bit of, physics. But when watching the doc, I think I'm with you on the whole, figuring out humans is so much more complicated than really anything I think we can try to fathom. Something that was really big for me was, how do you combat that? I'm sure that you must get it a lot with flat earthers and with people who are just kind of like, oh, science is relative, science is perspective. And something that I really love that was covered in the doc was science is ever evolving. And so what we say as fact might later become, more information might evolve into that, and then we evolve that fact. But how do you yourself combat people that come up to you and say, oh, well, the earth actually is flat, or, science is just kind of mythological?
Yeah, so I think its root cause happens back in the science classroom in K through 12 and perhaps even college, where almost every science class you take, you're handed a textbook and their vocabulary in boldface that you have to memorize, and you're tested on it. And it's this satchel of information. And at no time are you taught that science is a process. Science is a means of querying nature, invoking methods and tools that are better than any other pathway we've ever come up with to give you answers to what is objectively true. So there's a difference between what experimental verification gives us and what's happening on the bleeding edge of research. Yeah, things can change all the time, but not the fundamentals of what gravity's not going away tomorrow. Someone's tomorrow's gonna say, no, I don't think gravity really exists. Is the press going to go to them and give them 50% time? No, because that's done. Okay.
Right.
So people don't fully so the same people are saying, I don't trust science, are using their smartphone while they're in a car to get directions from a AI bot to avoid traffic. Oh, but I don't trust science. They're getting on an airplane, 100-ton tube of aluminum, flying 31,000 feet, having cocktails in a cushioned chair. Oh, but I don't trust science. So there's a disconnect between people. Science maybe needs better marketing. I hate to say that because marketing is so
right.
So
but it's so true. Yeah. And I love that you are on social media. I have so many of your tweets saved, like the equation of Thor's hammer.
You remember that? Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's like my favorite. And then I love the one where I don't think it was actually in a tweet, but you were on Jon Stewart's show and you said the beautiful thing about science is that you don't have to believe in it. It's fact.
Yeah, what I said was the good thing about science is true whether or not you believe in it.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
By the way, here at that nerd show, the only AI that we're going to trust is Data from Star Trek. So when that happens, we'll trust him. All right, Scott. In your exploration of this, and after watching the documentary, there seems to be kind of an interesting political movement behind the anti-vaxxers. And I still can't quite figure out, what is really driving that? Is it money? Is it politics? What did you really find that's driving that movement?
That's a great question.
Great question. So prior to COVID, Neil and I probably would have had a different answer. Prior to COVID, it was, you could look at the left-leaning side of this, and it was naturophobes, that they wanted everything natural to be part of their life, and vaccines were unnatural. And that was talking about marketing. That was very much marketed to them by industries that would benefit from it. Organic food, chiropractors, supplements, on and on.
The homeopathy is what
and on and on. And it's a shame because there's some of those elements can be healthy and reasonable decisions, but to say that what they did was say this entire institution was lying, institutions, plural, were lying to you, and we have these other cures for it to come over here and buy our goods. And the right-leaning side of that conversation wasn't as loud. There was a little overlap in there with
at the time,
and to pre-COVID. But then with COVID, what we saw was a combination of people saying, don't tell me what I don't want to see is true.
Right.
Don't tell me that whatever I feel is true, whatever my tribe feels is true. Don't tell me that I don't get to believe that. And it was very, very shocking, as you see in the film, going all the way to anti-vaxxers being part of the January 6th riots, right? That Del Bigtree, huge anti-vaxxer, didn't hear anything about Donald Trump prior to that. But it was sort of like, well, if you tell my lies, I'll tell your lies. If you believe my lies, I'll believe in your lies, and we can build our tribe together. And it's very sad.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's still it's still fringy, leaving out the large percentages of the Republican Party that believe that the election was stolen. But from the science side, there's so many more people that believe in science than don't believe in science. The problem is, I think I've told you this, Neil, is a young student of my wife's saw. Ralph got to the film. He said, "Oh, I get it. The big lie is being sold very effectively. Who's telling the big truth?" Right? Yeah, it's beautiful, right? He nailed it. So,
unfortunately, truth doesn't have as strong of marketing.
No, it's much harder. It's much harder, right? It takes much more nuance and detail, and God forbid, humility to get.
There's a famous quote from Mark Twain. What is it? A lie can circle the earth before truth.
Yeah, the truth is put its shoes on. Yeah,
put its pants on or something. And
Julie,
I will add to that the in the United States especially, it wasn't so much anti-farmer, anti-vax. It was, I want my freedom to decline a vaccine. You can't force me to take it. Well, it is true. The government cannot hold you down and inject you, but they can hold you accountable for not getting injected by denying you access, by denying the employment space where the social contract requires that you don't transmit it to your fellow employees. So that's a cost to your freedom to say, no, I don't want the vaccine. But that became the political right, meaning the political left on that same side of the fence, holding hands and saying, none of us want the vaccine.
All right, we're running out of time. I know these are short, quick interviews, and you've got other interviews to do. So I'm going to get to our famous nerdy question that we love to ask all of our filmmakers. So here you go. If you could have a superpower to fight the forces of evil, what would you choose? And I'm going to start with Neil.
Oh, I've thought about that often. When I was a kid, I wanted to fly. We all wanted to fly. But then I realized all you need to do is be able to read people's minds. Then you know in advance if they're about to do something bad. Now, a lot of people have bad thoughts and never act on them. So you have to be able to sort of filter that. This is almost like the film with the precogs.
Yes,
what was
Minority
that?
Report.
The Minority Report. So if there's some gentle way to do that, where thoughts cross some threshold of evil that then manifest, and then you'll just know in advance, and then you just prevent them from doing it. So my superpower would be to read people's minds rather than be so strong that I go in and stop them from committing the crime in the act of committing the crime. Just stop it before it happens.
I feel like there's a Superman versus X-Men debate going on here. Scott, how about you?
I think mine would be some form of being able to counter hypocrisy by being able to just sort of zap somebody, and that they would, like an engine would seize if an engine is full of crap, like an engine would seize. I would love to see human beings that are telling lies over and over again, that their body seizes on them. Like, no, you don't get to tell. Your body, you don't get to tell any more lies. You don't get to be full of shit anymore. You're done. So,
with the little wheel, with the processing wheel on the.
I love it. I love it. That's it. Exactly.
Oil can.
Yeah.
Put them back.
I just want to throw one more nerdy question out there because we have some money riding on this. Neil,
oh, we do. All right.
Who's your favorite captain? Star Trek captain?
Oh, geez.
Oh no, it's definitely. I mean, there's several, of course. I'm glad they finally had a female captain with Janeway, but I would have to go back to Captain Kirk, the original, because
I lost that one. My money was on Jean-Luc Picard.
Oh no! I'll tell you why. Because I'm a practical guy. Okay, we all love Jean-Luc Picard. Okay, so that's not the issue here. It's that Captain Kirk did his own fighting. Okay, I don't know how many fights Jean-Luc Picard was in. I think that the answer is 0. Did his own fighting. And if there's a captain of my ship and I see the captain fighting, I'm going to get out there and fight the aliens too.
All right.
Okay, that's my first answer. Second, he would make decisions which on the surface seemed irrational, but were in fact seat of the pants intuition of how to solve a problem.
Right.
And my favorite moment of that is there's some Klingon vessel out front, and their defenses are down, and they're ready to be destroyed. And Kirk says, let's engage Executive Order 3220, whatever, which doesn't exist, all right?
Right.
And he tells them that it's an order that any starship that's under threat will go into a self-destruct that will destroy everything in its area, including this Klingon ship that's facing them. And they turn off the comms, and Spock says, Captain, this is no time for a game of chess. And he said, and Kirk says, Spock, this isn't chess. This is poker. I was like, yes, holy, oh my gosh.
All right.
Can I give me some Captain Kirk on this, please?
Yeah. All right. You sold me on that.